out there? It's April 17th. I'm Frank Kersey, host of the Wall Street Unplugged podcast, where I break down the headlines and tell you what's really moving these markets. On Saturday, I took my kids to the Clay County Fair. It's located in northern Florida, Jacksonville, mostly a farm area, though. And I don't know if you've ever been to one of these big fairs. I've been going to them since I was a kid, where I used to spend every summer in a place called Stamford, New York, which is about 30 miles away from Oneonta. A lot of people are familiar with Oneonta College, one of the biggest party colleges. But every summer from the age, I'd say 5 or 6 to 17. So we lived in Queens, and we had, my parents bought an upstate house. And we used to go there. Well, me, my brother, my sister, as they grew up, they kind of, started staying in Queens, New York, when they were teenagers and stuff. But yeah, I was stuck there for a good 10, 11 years. And every summer when we had off from school, that's when we used to head up there, and we used to come back like a week before school started. So, it was a farm area. It was really nice. It was really cool. And they had 2 major fairs by us. And one was called the Delaware County Fair, which is in Walton, New York. And the other was called the Schoharie County Fair, which is in Cobleskill and not too far. And these fairs were amazing. And they had tons of games, rides. They had animals everywhere: pigs, rabbits, chickens, roosters, goats, horses, cows, everything. And yeah, they held contests like, best in show. And they had major events. Was it truck pulls? They had dog shows, talent shows. And the greatest thing, I don't even know if they have these anymore, they were called demolition derbies, where they would line up, they have cars that are basically stripped down. They paint numbers on the door. They had no glass in their windows or anything. And these cars would basically start on each side of the stadium, which is cut down to like a 100-yard field. And then they would smash into each other as hard as they can. They keep banging against each other until the car was totally disabled. It didn't work anymore. And, the winner was the car that actually was functionable, was still running. And they had like 10 rounds, with the winners of each round competing against each other for, the big trophy. And I mean, it was pretty crazy. Cars used to go on fire. They had fire departments on standby. I've seen plenty of cars go on fire. They had ambulances there. I never saw anyone get hurt, but I don't know. I haven't really seen these lately at any fairs, but man, I mean, demolition derbies, forget it. The amount of people that lined up, it was awesome. And when I was a kid, going to that upstate house every summer, I would look forward to these fairs. I mean, it was the biggest thing in the world to me. So I wanted to save up as much money as possible. This way I can go on all the rides and play all the games. So my dad used to give me tons of chores to do. I'd start the summer. Pay me like $5 an hour, and we had a 6-acre ranch upstate, in the middle of nowhere. It was really nice. And we had our own pigs, chicken, roosters that we used to get from the farm every year. And it was kind of funny, since my dad used to feed these animals our leftovers every night. So burgers, hot dogs, after barbecues, macaroni and cheese, beans every single night. So, the animals that we got for this, they ate like kings. And we used to get the animals from the same farm at the beginning of the summer. And by the end, we gave them back, and they were all like fat and plumped up. They just ate everything, So yeah, my dad was really into that stuff. And we did this for over 10 years, to the point where, when we got to the farm, I'm sure the animals were like, no, pick me, pick me. Usually when you go to the farm and pick animals, you go home, you kill them, and you cook them. We used to take them and feed them and get, fat. So, these animals kind of loved us. But anyway, I would save, a couple of $100 doing all my chores, which was, feeding a lot of these animals, mowing the lawn, chopping wood for our fireplace. And I'd take this money and go to these fairs at least twice, because they would go on for a week at a time. So I attend at least, twice a week, and just have a ball, like play games, win prizes, go on rides, meet friends. It was really the highlight of my summer as a kid. Well, when you look at the Clay County Fair in Florida I just went to, this is a really large fair. This is more than 30 rides, most of them adult rides, tons of games, food, animals, tractor pulls, everything. And I have to tell you, the total attendance from last year, I looked it up. So this is the amount of people who attended the fair for the full week. It broke 300,000. I'm sure this year it broke 500,000. And because Saturday alone, the place was insane. I mean, I've never seen anything like this before, at least at a fair. Each person I paid $10 to get in. The kids over 5 years old, I think. Under 5, they got them for free. Over 5, for 5 to 10 years old, I think, was $7 each. And then you had to pay $25 to get a band that you will have access to all the rides. And we waited online, my wife and I and the kids, we waited online for 40 minutes just to get the bands for the kids. Not a ride, just to get the bands. Which, by the way, these a-holes, sorry to curse, took a page from the health insurance companies, right? Where they give you a bracelet, you think you have access to every ride, but they actually did not give you access to every ride. They give you access to every single ride except the 3 most popular ones. And those rides require you to pay in tickets, and it was 8 tickets per ride, and each ticket was $1. So if you wanted to go on the other rides, you had to pay extra, almost double, what the bracelet cost. And every single one of these rides, every one of them, had 40-minute plus waits, most of them over an hour. This is a fair. This isn't Disney World. So last year, the Clay County said it generated $2.3 million, and this was just on food, beverage, specialty concessions, carnival rides. This number, I wouldn't be surprised if it's close to $4 million this year. So I went to this event last year. It was nothing like this year. In fact, it was definitely the most crowded fair I ever saw. So someone who's been going to these things for 30 years, practically. I mean, half an hour lines to get food, lines for every ride. Every game was $5 to play, $5 minimum. Remember when it used to be 50 cents and $1 or, $2, you get 2 balls. No, everything was $5 and every game was jam-packed. And I tweeted this at Frank Curzi. If you want to follow me, I'm starting to tweet a lot more. It's my handle. So I tweeted this when I was at the fair that those of you who don't believe the economy is on the brink of a recession, right? You may want to take a look at this. And I provided pictures and a lot of data I just mentioned. And it was funny because one person responded and they were like, really, Frank, this one data point makes you think the economy is fine? No, it's not one data point. Sorry. Sometimes I assume that, everyone's part of the whole system, the whole ecosystem that we have here where, you listen to the podcast, listen to newsletters. We have a massive network that goes up to 100 countries, which is incredible. I mean, the podcast has been downloaded, I believe, over 8 million times, even more than that, which is kind of humbling and incredible. But a lot of people, write in. So it's not just one data point. I mean, the powerful network that we have here, I get dozens, if not hundreds of emails from you guys every week. And I would say over 90%, probably like 95% of everyone emailing in, that's frankcurziresearch.com. I encourage you to email, right? We're all together in this. We're all a big network. But 95%, pretty close, definitely over 90% have been positive. I mean, tell me that, hey, you know what, Frank, business is still strong, because I ask a lot of business owners out there. So it's slowing from last year, but it's still solid, right? With tax reforms and stuff like that, people are spending a little bit more money. Listeners write in and tell me about the housing markets they live in outside of very high-end homes and, these major metropolitan areas starting to come down in price. The housing market is pretty solid. Real estate agents are telling me there's still very little inventory on the market. It's hard to get houses to even sell. That's what I'm hearing out there. Again, maybe if this is different, email me. This isn't, I'm not biased. I'm not a perma bull or perma bear. This is me reporting real-time data from you guys. This is what I'm hearing. Emails from people shopping at malls, traveling the world, talking to cab drivers, going to tourist destinations, even taking cruises. And overwhelmingly, these emails are positive. Just tell me things are crowded. People continue to spend money. And look, we all know it's not always going to be this way. I mean, maybe worried about a massive debt, a trade war with China, Brexit, slowdown in earnings growth, right? All those, we know those are on the table. But right now, people are spending money. The sentiment is overwhelmingly positive. We all know this could change. But right now, things are pretty good. We're seeing it recent earnings from banks where, most saw declines in trading volumes from January, February, mostly January. Most every management team said the economy is pretty strong and consumers continue to spend. As you'll see personally in almost every area you go to, malls, big fairs, car dealerships, vacations. Yeah, car dealerships, you're slowing a little bit, but still people are buying cars like crazy. Everything's crowded. And why am I going through this? Why am I telling you this story? Because it's very important, guys. Because when consumers decide to cut back on spending, when they start getting worried, when they are no longer traveling, buying homes, you know who's going to see it first? You. If you're paying attention. Not that the economists that stick their heads in books and look at bell curves, all those guys have been wrong, because most of those guys, and I'm not picking on all of them and not every one of them, but the people they talk to are usually rich people. These are lots of us in a room. They're not socially inept, they're looking at numbers and stuff like that. You are out there. You are seeing your neighbors, who's buying cars, who's spending money, the house is for sale, how much milk costs, how much gasoline costs. You're it. Now, times that about like the massive network we have and the real time data that we get on indications of the economy. I can't tell you since I've been doing this podcast how incredible that's been. It's a reason why I've been so bullish in the face of how many people telling us the market's going to crash, because I'm a data driven guy. I'm listening to my network. I listen to the people I talk to. I travel like crazy. This is how you get a good indication. And look at the credit crisis where home prices started to collapse. Tons of foreclosures hit the market. You guys knew about it. If you live in Florida, Southern California, Vegas, you saw this happening in late 2006. Nobody was talking about it. You saw it happening. The houses for sale, people, 2004 or 5, people that are cops and firemen buying $800,000 houses with Mercedes in their driveways. You saw it. And you saw it happening in 2006, how this started shrinking, people just leaving their house, more foreclosures on the market. You definitely saw it in 2007. The rest of the world pretty much found out about it in early 2008. But the writing was on the wall if you just looked. And tons of houses for sale. New homes that were just built. They're on the market for 6 to 9 months, even longer. Nobody buying them. So right now, based on what I'm seeing from my network, some of that travels left, the economy's fine. It's not great, but it's doing okay. By almost every economic data being reported. And by a much more important measure, the common sense point of view, from someone who travels a ton, talks to locals, talks to cab drivers, has a nice network of people spread out through 100 countries. And from someone who just went to a local fair in the middle of nowhere in a farm town where they're going to generate close to $4 million in a week record sales on a freaking fair. Are you kidding me? Economy looks pretty healthy right now. I expect to stay that way at least through the end of this year. Again, if you're against this or you're a perma bear or whatever, that's fine. That's okay. Make sure you have stop losses on your stock. I'm just telling you the data that's reported. I'm not biased here. I look at data, and that's how I get to my investments. That's how I recommend stocks in our newsletters. But as for the economy, if you're worried about it, it's going to be strong to at least the end of this year, likely through 2020 as well. Can't see us really falling into a recession 2020, into election year. I think it's going to happen. Do everything we can to stimulate the economy. But that's the basis for this whole story and telling you all this stuff, to keep your eyes out. You guys know more than most of the economists, most of the analysts out there. If you just look, you'll find great ideas. Listen to your kids. They know the biggest trends that are coming up. They know about the Instagrams and stuff. They know about all sorts